discusses with the 12 what their mission is, what they can expect. Correct? That's what y'all remember. All right, all right. All right. So we were in Matthew 10, and we were at verse. I believe we're at verse 21 where we stopped. I believe. So Jesus had been telling them that he's sending them out as sheep amidst in the midst of wolves, whatnot, right? Then he says, brother will betray brother to death, and a father his child, and children will rise up against parents and cause them to be put to death. Right. So, excuse me. So what is Jesus telling them? What's he saying? Brother will betray brother, father his child, children rise up against parents. What is he describing? What does that mean? What's he talking about? Nothing.
I think what he's telling us is once you actually become the person that is made the choice to actually live and follow the truth, those that have chosen the truth yet, they're going to essentially become your enemy.
Yeah,
Even those that you share blood with, those that might even be in your same house.
yeah, yeah,
And it's not because of you, but it's the fact that, hey, the truth is the same, it doesn't change. And if they haven't accepted that truth yet, there's a conflict going on between the truth and the untruth.
yeah. So correct. So Jesus knew there would be opposition, right? There'd be those that that don't believe him, those that don't want to believe him, those that think they're mad. And I was back in those times. Let's say that the 12 are talking to someone, right? They see a young man, I don't know, 25, 30-year-old young man, and they tell him, and then he believes, right? Then he goes home to tell his parents what, you know, I just talked to these gentlemen here. They probably like, man, what are you talking about? They could have been against it, right? So now you got a conflict between father and son, or mother and son, or both, or sisters, and or he could, or he goes and tells his brother. You think about when Jesus, some of the disciples, when they came and started following him, Jesus might have met one of the brothers, right? But a couple of them would go back and they go and tell the other brother, right? And then they brought the other brother with them. What if that other brother had said, "Oh, nah, I'm good. You go ahead." That's what we do today, right? So you probably had some people that were, didn't have the faith, that didn't believe them, didn't think they knew what they were talking about. But you had to prioritize the people that were that were being faithful, that were becoming faithful, that were believing. They had to prioritize their faith over their family in some cases. So um, probably was a hard, difficult thing to do. I would think. Um, so anyway, that's basically what he was referring to. You got family bonds, you got that family love, that closeness, but ultimately you've got to stand firm in what you believe, and and so that's I guess the gist of verse 21. And of course, he goes on to say, "You will be hated by all because of my name, but it is the one who has endured to the end who will be saved. But whenever they persecute you in one city, flee to the next. For truly I say to you, you will not finish going through cities of Israel until the Son of Man comes." So excuse me, I'm sorry. He's telling them, they're going to persecute him. You're going to be on the run. You're going to be on the run. And so, and so, and when they do come at you, go to the next city. And when you get to those cities, um, go through those cities, you will continue going through those cities until the Son of Man comes. So what does that mean to us today? What could that mean to us? What should it mean to us? I don't know.
I think the one thing that you get out of it is there is, I'm trying to remember what verse it is, but Jesus tells them that the birds have a place, that the animals of the field got a place, but the Son of Man doesn't have a place to rest his head. And he's telling us that while we're here on earth, we are not going to have the certain final rest that you're supposed to get. That things are going to be continuing going on because we're still living in our body.
Okay. Okay. Does it say anything else to anyone? Battle can't bail y'all out. So, to me, it's also saying that, especially the part where it says, "You will not finish going through the cities of Israel until the Son of Man comes." That's telling us today that we're still to be sharing the word, still to be teaching and preaching to others, right? Until the Son of Man comes. He ain't come yet, has he? So, as disciples, that's what we should be doing. We should still be doing that. All right. So, to me, it's a charge. It was a charge to those 12, but it's also a charge to us today to continue on. To continue on. So let's go on to the next section. Just want to finish up that section before we kept moving. All right. So, um, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. We still got a couple more verses in that section because we went through 25, I believe. So yeah, a disciple is not above his teacher, nor a slave above his master. It is enough for the disciple that he become like his teacher and the slave like his master. If they have called the head of the house Beelzebul, how much more would they malign the members of his household? All right, so what is he saying right there? What is he saying right there? What's Beelzebul? Beelzebul. Don't all you fight for the microphone? Hmm? A demon? You just looked up on your phone. James looking up in here. So Beelzebul was it depends on what you read, but it refers to Satan. But now there's some that said he was like Satan's right hand man or whatever. It depends on what you read. I don't know if y'all remember. Did y'all read the it was supposed to be like a classic, Paradise Lost? Y'all remember that in school? We talked about Adam and Eve basically losing the right to, to dwell in the Garden of Eden. He called it. I forgot who wrote it. Robert somebody. Anyway, he called him Beelzebub, B-U-B at the end instead of B-U-L. But anyway, Beelzebul is it's in fact you'll see it in Mark, I think, and one of the other gospels too refer to Satan as Beelzebul. All right, so anyway, Jesus is saying if they've called him, who's the head of the house, he's referring to himself as the head of the house. If they called him the devil, what do you think they're gonna call y'all? That's basically what he was saying. So he's saying, if y'all are followers of mine, y'all followers of me, and they talk about me, they're gonna talk about you too. So so if they don't believe him, they're not gonna believe them. If they persecuted him, they're gonna persecute them. If he had to go on the run, which he did from time to time, he went from city to city, you know, because they were after him. They were gonna have to do the same. So he was basically giving them that warning, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Y'all won't be immune to this. to the persecution that he had to go through. Because y'all are followers of me, they're going to come after you too. That's basically what he was telling them. All right, so now let's go to the next section. Let's read verses 26 through 33. Someone, please. Since y'all don't want to talk, I'll make you talk by asking you to read. Someone have it? Matthew chapter 10, verses 20. Okay, go ahead. Somebody's got it.
26 to 33. Therefore, do not fear them, for there is nothing concealed that will not be revealed, or hidden that will not be known. What I tell you in the darkness, speak in the light, and what you hear whispered in your ear, proclaim from the housetop. Do not fear those who kill the body, but are unable to kill the soul, but rather fear him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not two pharaohs sold for a cent? And yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father. But the very hairs of your head are all numbered, so do not fear. You are more valuable than many sparrows. Therefore, everyone who confesses me before men, I will also confess him before my Father who is in heaven. But whoever denies me before men, I will also deny him before my Father who is in heaven.
All right. All right. So this is Jesus telling them they need to be courageous, right? Um, um, and do not fear. Excuse me. He says, "Do not fear" a few times, and so that's the gist of it. Excuse me, y'all. What does he mean? Why does he speak of those sparrows? He says, "Are not two sparrows sold for a cent? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father."
Because when you look at, even looking at birds, right? If you look at a sparrow, that's not a very desirable bird as far as you talking about something for value or eat. Where you talking about an eagle or something else, you wouldn't put those on the same level. And he's saying just as far as that would be, it's like us to them. I think in he made the illustration about the grass. Even though he takes care of the grass is less valuable. So you don't have to worry, he's gonna take care of it. You're
Exactly.
more valuable to him than those things, and he takes care of that.
Exactly. 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 I mean, anybody eating a sparrow? Who said that? You ate a sparrow? Yeah. Well, that was desperate times, probably. Yeah. You had to eat with him. I ate my BB. I hit him. You ain't cutting them up, huh? Can't waste your BB. But but people usually eat doves or whatever. They eat chicken, but sparrow's not really, what what's a sparrow really good for, right? Yes, sir.
Also, in those verses that you read, he's talking about trusting, being confident, trusting in him, keeping your eye on him. Your value is more valuable to him than all those other things that we keep talking about.
Yeah, that's what
Well,
he's saying. That's exactly what he's saying. So yeah, so the sparrows, they fly around, they don't fall to the ground, do they? He allows them to live. They live their life. So if he's taking care of them, and but the very hairs on your head are all numbered. That means he knows exactly how many hairs on your head, or maybe it used to be on your head, Joe. He knows the hairs on your head. He has a relationship with you, right? as compared to, a sparrow. So if he's taking care of them, he's going to definitely take care of you, especially the disciples is what he's referring to. So he was saying, telling them, don't be afraid to confess of him to men, right? So when you talk to people, don't be afraid to tell them. Don't be afraid to teach and preach and and testify. Is that telling us anything? Yeah? No? A little bit?
I mean, it does, because one of our responsibilities is to go out and spread the gospel.
Is it?
It's that's what we've chosen to do on the perfect purpose. But in this instance, if you can't go out into the world and tell the world who God is, but you want to get on your knees and pray Christ for Christ to go to God for you, you know, it's like being a hypocrite. You can't expect one thing, you're not doing the thing. So that's what he's telling you. You know, if you're afraid to tell your fellow brothers and sisters, the lost, anybody about me, but you want my son to come to me for you.
All right. Let me ask you a question. Ask everyone a question. But since you got the mic, I'm going to ask you. All right. So let's say someone believes in God, believes in Jesus. They confess privately, but they don't tell nobody outside the doors beyond their house. They don't say anything to anybody. Are they truly believers?
I would say no,
Why?
because scripture tells us we are to go out to preach and teach. We have a command to do. So if you don't ever do it, are you a true follower? You can only be a true follower if you're doing what God instructs you.
Hmm.
Do you do everything God instructs you to do?
Got a hand over here. Got a hand over here. Hold up. Get another mic.
I am, but do I always do everything I'm supposed to do? No.
Then that's how it goes.
No. Because I think what we're talking about is going out, sharing what he gave you. But he also told us that we will stumble at times. But if you just take something and don't ever do anything with other than keep it to yourself.
What about the way you lead your life? Is that not a testimony of what you believe?
Nobody can hear you, ma'am.
I mean, I'm asking him. Okay.
Yeah, teach.
All right. So I asked you if you do everything God tells you to do because you said God tells us to do this. So if God tells us to do this, he tells us to do other things. So we could do this, but not do other things and still be wrong. I'm just saying everything is equal. The other part is the way you live your life, the way you treat people, the way you love, the way you do for others. Isn't that a testimony of
I mean, it's
what you believe?
but I think too. I mean,
Oh, get the mic, sir.
your life and the way you live is a reflection. But yeah, remember he said if you do not confess to others.
Okay, I got it.
All right. Ariel's got a comment. Oh, okay. All right, go ahead.
I'm the teacher.
Take over the class.
Okay, so I know you're not supposed to tell what you do, but um, it was a while back. I was in Family Dollar, and I paid for something, and I told the lady she could keep the change. I wasn't telling her about Jesus. I didn't confess like, you're saying what I'm supposed to do. I was going in and trying to lead my life like Jesus. That's why I said keep change. So then she said, what made you do that? And I said, not what, who. And then I was able to tell her Jesus. And then we had a conversation. But it was the way I was leading my life, not necessarily what I confessed. That's just an example. Right?
That's an example. That's a good example. All right, Brother Loud.
What was your question?
I can't remember. All right, all right. I said, all right, let's say someone that believes in Christ, believes in God, and confesses their faith within the walls of their home or whatever, but don't go outside those doors of their house and tell anybody.
I don't agree with if you don't say anything that's wrong, that you're not a true follower. I don't agree. And the reason why I don't agree with that, because Jesus never did any of that. He didn't go broadcast who he was and all that. It is according to how he lived, what he taught, or whatever. So just people say anything. I mean, we have people that confess that they are a follower, but when you start looking at their life and the way they live, doesn't match up. So I can't say if you don't. I think we take confess the wrong way. It's something else I heard that I don't agree with. I don't feel like we was, even though God chose us, but we make the choice to follow Christ, right? Or no? Did we make that choice? So it's some things that it wasn't necessarily that we was picked to do. We agreed to do it, right? So when we decide to follow Christ, when we decide to get baptized, we are saying more than, oh, I want to be saved and go to heaven. We are saying that I, I'm giving up my life to Christ and I'm going to do these things that He have instructed to do. But was we picked to do those things, or did we decide to do those things? I ain't confusing nobody, but it made me think about the slave. I think that's one of the ones that we kind of passed over. The slave, in this master. Mm-hmm. So what is with the slave and the master? The slave, you got to be willing to accept and all that other stuff, same as your master. I don't think we like hearing that stuff because it started making us look at ourselves on our job. The stuff that the boss man deal with, we ought to be, hey, I got to deal with what the boss man deal with. So I know some time back I said that we are in a partnership with God, and I know some of us don't agree with that, but it's a partnership. So some of the stuff I don't know, Ben. So I all I'm saying is I don't think that just because I don't go and
Tell
tell
someone.
everybody.
Yeah. So the confess, and then the next verse says, "Whoever denies me before men, I will also deny him before my Father who is in heaven." So you know, there's nothing wrong with verbally expressing, and there's nothing wrong with your actions. I think, I think it goes both ways. I think you are expected to say some things. You're expected to do some things. Now, like you say, there's a lot of people that confess out there, but then their actions are totally different, right? So, good.
Peter and he denied it.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
heard, we
exactly.
heard, we heard exactly what Peter said, right? But what if Peter hadn't said nothing, but he still did what he did?
Yeah,
That's the same thing.
yeah,
He
yeah.
just told the people, I don't know that man. But he hiding and everything else told them the same thing, though, right?
Sure did.
So I think Sister Viv, Renita told us Sunday in our care group meeting that we need to think about what John Marshall said. You have a good heart.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
she was joking on somebody,
Yeah.
and I don't know, huh?
Yeah.
Not this time.
But let's go back. All right, and we got a hand in the back too.
That's what he meant about we're not. I don't understand what you meant about you're not. Are we chosen or are we? What did he say? He said, "Are we? Do we?"
We decide to we agree to do the things that we're supposed to do as a Christian, as a disciple.
And you said we're not chosen.
I'm not saying that we're not chosen.
Okay, what are you saying?
I'm saying that we have to. It's an agreement that when we say, hey, we want to get baptized, we want to follow Christ. That's an agreement that we are making. You know.
The covenant. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yes, sir,
I'm
bro.
going off of what RL said. The word confess here means to agree. It means to agree with God's truth, with God's word. It's not about speaking it, it's agreeing with his word.
Yeah, yeah. So if you're out there, when you walk out these doors and you go out there and you're not living your life the way you should be living your life, what are you doing? You're denying them, right? Now, do we see it that way? No. You say you do. Some see it that way, some don't. But that's what we're doing. You're basically denying. Oh no, I don't know him, right? You're doing what Peter did, basically. I don't know that man. And then you're gonna hear the rooster crow, right? But because the way you live your life, as you said, the way you live your life, and you're making a statement. And if you live your life in the opposite of the way we've been commanded to, you're making a statement. And as disciples, now we're disciples, right? What do we say disciples were? Followers, people that followed the teachings and did the things that they were commanded to do. And so if you're out there not doing it, can you say you're a disciple if you're not following the teachings, following the commandments? I mean, what's a disciple if you don't have to do that? Yes, sir.
So, but Peter was one of the 12,
Yeah.
and the Lord told him from the get.
He told him he was gonna do it, didn't he?
3 times. And Peter went and done it. But Peter was a follower. So what it is? No, I feel like you have to look at that overall as well. God used Peter to teach us more than just Peter was a coward. But Peter was he was really bold when it came down to it after he learned some stuff. So it's a growth process for us as well. So we can't never miss that. I know we always try to get here, but we still down. Exactly. Yeah. But, but like you said, Peter was chicken. Peter was facing to get beat up. I think when he denied Christ and everybody busted him out to say that he was with Jesus, and he said, I don't know that man. Peter was scared because he knew they were fixing to take Christ out. And if he figured if he had to say that he was winning, he would get took out too.
Yeah.
He wouldn't let it go. Well, see, Peter told him that he'll go down with it, though. That's what he said. But what did Jesus tell him? And you behind you say, so man, once again, we can go and say whatever.
You say all kind of stuff, can't you? Say all kinds of got a hand in the back there. A lot of us say a lot of things, don't we?
Until the road meet the house.
Yeah. You know, how many of you have ever agreed to do something and then you didn't follow through? You know, pretty much everybody needs to raise their hand, right? You know, uh, I know my wife said she to honor and obey her husband, so she ought to have both hands up, right? But so yeah, we can say a lot of things, but our actions speak. Actions speak. Yes, sir.
And yes, with Peter, yes, he denied Jesus, but what Peter did not do is turn away from Jesus.
No.
He did not go away, turn away, and start going the other way and stop being his disciple. That is the main key. That's what it means by denying the Father. It's turning away and going back.
Exactly. So what you say is not necessarily, you know, let's say Peter said he was a follower, but yet he lived his life a different way, right? So, so, so you saying that you're a follower, that you're a believer, that you have faith, and that you're a disciple, and you're not doing it. We'd rather you say you're not, and you actually do it. Do the good things, the good deeds, and the, showing love to, and all the one another's and things of that nature. So, so, yeah. So puts the emphasis on not what you say, but what you do. All right.
I think
Yes.
when we look at Jesus, we forget that all the things that he didn't do them for fame or for attention, but he also did these things no matter who was there, who saw it. It was in public, even up to the point of him being crucified. For it was in public, in front of everybody. So that's the example that he set for us is that hey, don't worry about who's around you or what's going on with the audience is, or if people gonna praise you for it or not. Do it.
Well,
What comes out of it, don't worry about that part of it. I got control of it.
all right. So we'll finish up here in just a minute. All right. So do not fear. He says, do not fear several times, right? It's a fear or fears, I guess you could say, do we face today? Uh, What type of fears do some of you face? Say that again.
Yeah.
Well, as far as being a disciple of Christ, death, or you just saying fear? Just you just fear death. Period. Okay. Okay. Okay.
But anybody come to me and tell me that they don't feel death, I'm never trying to walk away from it. Don't do them like that, Joe, because it depends on what they done got. How far they done
So
got in their faith level in life. Some people, they're not afraid. See what that? Some people are not afraid of death because they feel like, hey, I'm gonna be in a better place. So I go along with that. But at the same time, you walking, breathing, and somebody gonna come up to you and say, I'm fit to kill you. Your heart ain't gonna put it. Ain't that fear?
so 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 what types of things have us fearful of being obedient? Let me say that.
Well, I mean, obviously, the rejection from certain people. Because, like I said, the truth and a lie, they don't have no association with each other. So if you come in and you tell somebody about Jesus and you tell them the truth and they're not accepting of that, y'all gonna have a little bit of a problem.
Good. You could. Yeah. Yeah. We talked about a little earlier, right? About how some people may start to avoid you. Or they come around talking about Jesus again. You know, or here go that old holy roller or whatever, right? Some people shun against that, right? Um, some people take offense to it. They think you don't like them, or they, you know, feel as if you're separating yourself from them, and they're offended by the fact that you're a follower of Christ. And we don't want to have to face that type of thing. Those are some of the fears that we have. But as we see in these verses, 3 different times in these passages here, just in this, what, 8, 9 verses that we had there, 8 verses, he says, do not fear. Do not fear. So, all right.